Hi, I'm Matthias, and welcome to High Tech Farmer, where I show the newest technologies in agriculture. If you're interested in technology advancements in agriculture, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to my family's 5th generation farm, located in southwest Minnesota. Farming is not just a way of life, it's a business. Like any business, it was started by someone that was willing to take a chance. That someone was my great-great-grandpa, Joachim. He took a chance and loaded a boat in Austria that was bound for New York. In 1886, when he made it to New York, he continued traveling to the place that I now call home, in the hopes of starting a new life. And starting a new life he did, as he was granted 160 acres through the Homestead Act of 1862. The Homestead Act was initiated by Congress in hopes of spurring economic development out west and to create a domestic food source in the U.S. At the time, the landscape would look very similar to this, with undisturbed soil and brome grasses. Farming in those times was significantly more labor intensive. Most tools and equipment were based on human or animal labor, and the lack of shared research and knowledge meant that a lot of things were done using manual methods. That same dirt that my great-grandpa was granted in 1886 is some of the very soil that I still farm today. But I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the generations between then and now. The second generation to farm in my family was Joseph, the son of Joachim. He began farming during the advent of the tractor era, the early 1920s and 30s. It was during this time that the horse and plow were being replaced by tractors such as these, gasoline-powered tractors. In fact, this 1958 International Super M is one that my great-grandpa purchased and we still use regularly on the farm. These tractors significantly increased the productivity and efficiency on the farm. At the same time, the U.S. was busy engineering and designing roads and highways that allowed farmers greater access to untapped markets with these new pieces of equipment. In fact, the combination of tractors and the road systems allowed farmers to produce more grain than what they needed. Thus, it was the beginning of commercial agriculture, where farmers produced food for the rest of the world. And today, in the U.S., less than 2% of the population are considered farmers. By the time my grandpa, William, took over the farm in 1960, a tractor could be seen on every farm place across the countryside. During his stretch of farming, there was a significant leap in terms of harvest technology, as he went from a one-row corn head and a separate machine to thrash the ears to where we're at today with the 12-row chopping corn head that takes the ear all the way down to the kernel. This also led to a greater need for on-farm storage of grain. As farmers began getting larger in size, they needed more place to store their grain on the farm, both a benefit to the farmer and the end consumer. In the late 1980s, as my dad, Mike, embarked on his farming journey, it was at the point where people were specializing in either crops or livestock. It was at this time that my dad and my grandpa made the decision to focus on the grain side of the farming operation, and the livestock were sold off. This meant old livestock buildings on the farm place were tore down for new grain structures to be put up, such as grain bins and a leg to increase grain capacity. His time on the farm, he saw the rise of biotechnology and genetically modified crops. The days of pulling weeds by hand were replaced by chemicals and sprayers. It was also during the turn of the century that tractors became equipped with GPS, which allowed for greater placement of seeds, chemical, and fertilizer. GPS cleared the way for the next line of planter efficiencies, with new metrics being measured, such as singulation, downforce, and good ride. Clearly, there's been many changes over our family's farms, 5 generations and 130 years, whether it be grain bins, machine sheds, tractors, or a plethora of other things. But there's been one thing that has remained constant on our farm, and that's the care that we have towards the land. This has all led up to me, Matthias, I'm a 23-year-old farmer who works alongside his parents raising corn and soybeans on the same soil that has been in our family for over 130 years. I have 3 siblings who have all turned wrenches, scooped bins, and picked rock, and it has given each of us a unique perspective and a greater appreciation for where our food comes from. As you can tell, change has been inevitable on my family's farm. Mechanical and technological advancements continue to improve the way we grow the food, fuel, and fiber for the world. This raises the question of what's the next chapter of my family's farming story. Will robots and artificial intelligence be one day running on their own out in the fields? Will gene editing and genetic engineering lead to a regenerative corn plant? Will cloud seeding help bring rain to areas of drought? These are all questions that will influence my life as a farmer and yours, whether you be a farmer as well or a consumer. So if you're eager to learn more about what technologies are shaping agriculture, hit subscribe below and make sure to follow me along on this exciting journey.